Tenchū 2 starts us off with another absolute banger of an FMV as we now expect. The cinematography is on point, the models look absolutely sick for the time, and we also have some beautiful Japanese traditional serenading our ears while we watch our heroes ruthlessly end the lives of the assorted rogues gallery. Attentive watchers will peep that our homies seem quite a bit younger this time, and that's because they absolutely are. Tenchū 2 is a prequel to the original, showing us how our homies came to be the no-nonsense badasses they are in the first title. We're also introduced to a new hero, Tatsumaru, who is mysteriously absent from the first game in the series. But I'm sure that doesn't mean anything, right? Probably not. Anyway, we'll be taking our homeboy's Ricky point of view again as we see our little rapscallion respectfully kneeling in front of what we learn is Master Azuma Shiunsai, who has been teaching homie in the way of the sword and is preparing him for his final trial. What was immediately apparent to me, besides this dude being Roy Campbell, was a step up in voice acting compared to the original. While I absolutely love the over-the-topness of the original cast doing their best to act their heart out, the new voices are much more fitting, matching the younger nature of our heroes very well and allowing you to take the plot more seriously overall on top. We turn to the homie Ricky as we wait our orders to prove that we should be first string in the ninja lineup. Azuma opens a Looney Tune tier trapdoor, sending us to the tutorial area, which we bag up easily, of course, because we just that nice with it, and returns to the surface where we are officially given our N-word pass. That's right, y'all. Azuma officially makes us a card-carrying Azuma ninja. What y'all think I meant? And along with that, we get our first mission, learning about an abandoned town where some thieves and bandits are getting busy thinking they run the joint, which we simply can't allow. After a brief interlude from the one and only OG announcer homie, we make our way through the first level where we encounter Garan, who's having the time of his life playing darts with a poor little village girl. And right as homie decides it's time for a bullseye, Big Ricky enters the scene with a dynamic entry, parrying that nonsense on some Sekiro timing and suiting up to tell size 7 mans what the heavens think about those who bully the innocent. Fight cracks me up because why this dude got a gigantic pipe to get busy against us? Fella must have really thought he was gonna put us in a pack. Unfortunately for him, Rikimaru doesn't get smoked, he does the smoking, and we take dude out as a real one should. And as we get ready to make our escape, the village girl understandably wants to thank us, but that's when Rikimaru hits her with one of the coldest lines ever. "Sorry, Toots, I'm a shadow. I don't have a name," before getting out of there without a trace. After a job well done, we return to base, but are woken up in the middle of the night not only to find ourselves at Master Azuma's feet, but Tatsumaru and Ayame as well. Big Papa Azuma wastes no time. He informs us that Lord Goda, the only reason our clan even exists, is under attack by his traitorous brother, who's getting a little too big for his loincloth, no diddy. Our task is a simple one. Go to the castle to defend Lord Goda and protect his life before we're out of a job, as well as a reason to exist. Before he sends us off, he leaves us with one final bombshell, presenting Tatsumaru with the legendary blade Izayoi, and naming him the new master ninja of the clan. Even Tatsumaru is like, "Yo, word?" But Azuma is resolute in his decision, telling him that if that Drake versus Kendrick beef taught him one thing, is that a fella gotta know when to call it quits. He's got no desire to be that 69-year-old dude in the club asking where my hug at, so only thing left to do is pass the torch. Respecting the master's wish to age with some grace, the three head to the castle where things are getting busy. When they enter, a young woman tells them that the place is foobar, but the princess and master are still alive in the castle grounds. Tatsumaru, the newly appointed top dog, tells Ayame to handle the ladies while Ricky follows him to find their master. As they progress, Tatsumaru senses something is off, so he tells Rikimaru to continue to the castle to get the Lord Goda while he deals with whatever is giving him the bad vibes he's been sensing this whole trip. Rikimaru continues and we watch in the doorway where we get front row seats to see our Lord Goda duking it out with his trifling ass uncle, where we learn Unc thinks that Goda's a hoe and doesn't have what it takes to properly bring peace to the land, so it's time for some nepotism. The two have a pretty sick looking duel, but Goda eventually brings him to his knees, no Riley Reid, but doesn't have the heart to take out his family. That's when this snake pulls the reverse Uno card and hits him with the "call an ambulance." But not for me. Pulling an old ass Blake from his pocket and blamming Goda. This is where we enter the scene. Get busy against the old man, and right before we make sure we finish the job, Goda hops in the frame and takes the kitchen knife directly to the back for his uncle. We learn that while Goda realizes his uncle sucks, he knows he means well and wants what's best for the country. Then at the worst possible time, Jubei, the court fencing instructor, almost sneaks us before Goda gives him the rub. He's then like, "Oh yeah, you're that badass street urchin Azuma took in." Well, anyway, Goda, this place is getting shish kebab. You need to head for that secret entrance and get the hell out of here while that's still even a thing. Goda tries to argue, telling him he can't leave without his wife and daughter, but as he said that, hella jobbers start swarming and it's clear a move needs to be made. Ricky tells Goda that Ayame is taking care of his wife and daughter to help beat the deadbeat allegations, so they gotta move. Ricky makes it out of the castle with Goda, but right after, man starts having a full Tyrese Gibson tear breakdown, lamenting the burning of his castle, the unknown nature of his family, and the bitch-madeness of his tears. Goda ponders to the sky if he truly is an L-Mans, and Rikimaru's silence all but corroborates. This is when Sekia, Goda's advisor, arrives and almost inadvertently gives Goda his 13th reason when he tells him not only did his wife get smoked in the attack, but his daughter's been kidnapped and Ayame is working to chase down the culprit, who was none other than his uncle, Motohide, whom he let escape moments earlier. Bro, this story, all jokes aside, is genuinely compelling. They were cooking on this one. We got some K-pop soap opera level drama happening here right now. Rikimaru decides that right now, he needs to be the dad that steps up, urging Goda to remain safe so the country has a leader who, while he may be an L-Mans, isn't a complete lunatic, while he tracks down Toda, the leader of the neighboring forces who are using this opportunity to attack. We make our way to where the enemy lies, but before confronting Toda, we get stopped by some edgelord named Suzaku, who tells us we have to stay and play with him and we're not permitted to pass. Rikimaru doesn't even let Brody finish his monologue, telling him he's got grown man business to handle and to step aside before he gets put aside. Of course, the fella wants to box, and we find out in the scrap that the dude has a strange fetish for throwing grenades at us and then blowing himself up with it. It is what it is. We knock dude silly a little bit before he hits us with the Shonen rival classic, "Heh, you're pretty good, kid. Maybe you'll actually be a challenge in a few years, that is," before dipping out. We damn near decide to run after him and finish the job, but we remember our mission and keep it pushing to Toda. We arrive in camp, hands on the blade, ready to do what we do best, but we immediately realize the situation is very much not what we thought. When we walk in and see Master Splinter, aka Motohide, aka the uncle your mom warned you about, dead in the camp. Then just a few meters away, we see another dead body, which is immediately ID'd as the headless Toda. We stare at the junk for a second, low-key admiring the work, thinking about who did it. At first, Ricky assumes it was Ayame, but with how clean the cut was and knowing her sloppy ass, we attribute the work to Tatsumaru. We don't get to wonder long though, as outside the club we hear the sound of bus ass occurring and we go check it out. When we arrive outside, we see Ayame with Princess Kiku and Tatsumaru on a remote island going to absolute war with some baddie in purple they don't recognize. The fight meets an abrupt end though when lightning strikes, the land crumbles, and Tatsumaru falls in the water and is presumed lost. In the next scene, we learn time has passed and it's been 3 months since anyone has seen Tatsumaru. But if Batman has taught us anything, it's that crime never sleeps. While things are relatively peaceful for us, at a next door town, locals have been going missing in what are being called demon attacks, and it's up to us to go investigate. We arrive and find a local being carted off, and right as he's being knocked out and prepared for Kami knows what, Ricky puts his boots to the ground and begins the roast session, telling our fake demon here that he's a sorry-ass excuse for a monster, and that he intends to be the man to cut off that fake nose starting at the neck. We make our way through the fog, find where the villagers are being kept, and proceed to collect our good boy points. On the way out, a villager attempts to give us something, but is cut down by the balding villain Kamidoma, who laughs as we ask why the hell he even did that, telling us that the peasants are worth less than insects, and it doesn't mean a whole lot putting a knife through the low class. Ricky, being the defender of the proletariat, does not take kindly to Kamidoma's classism and prompts to put a sword through his Kamidome, silencing his annoying cackle once and for all. We return to the fellow who got cut down, using the magic pixel remaining on his health bar to give us the location of the secret harbor, a place where we can save the remaining villagers before finally giving us his dramatic death gurgle and passing away. In the name of the broke boys that lost, Ricky decides to continue to fight like John Halo and makes his way to the location on the map. As Ricky works his way through the level, he eventually finds the remaining innocents, but before the escape is final, is confronted by the aptly named Wang, who tells us that in China, it is improper for a guest to leave before properly thanking the host. Rikimaru smiles a little bit before drawing his sword and is like, funny, because I thought we were in Japan, and I would say that your green card just expired, amigo. Yo, I don't know who taught this man Rikimaru how to roast, but he's making them proud. Buddy's tongue is just as sharp as that katana hanging around his waist. After we clean homie up, things start to get mighty strange as we make our way around the corner and dodge a sword slash by a razor's edge through a figure that looks mighty familiar. We ask the man who's clearly skilled to reveal just who he is. As he pulls the mask back from his face, it's exactly as we thought, none other than our sworn brother Tatsumaru. Who else would be bold enough to rock that see-through chain link vest in this climate? But weirdly enough, when we tell homie his name, he hits us with the new phone who it is. He tells us we're bugging, he's actually Seiryu, the blue dragon, one of the 4 pillars of the burning dawn, whatever the hell that is. Rikimaru just sits there perplexed, puzzled at the nuttiest gaslighting he's ever experienced in his life. The two trade swords as Rikimaru continues to plead with his brother's better judgment, that he is Tatsumaru of the Azuma Ninja and wielder of the Izayoi. Tatsumaru's brain starts smoking and you hear sounds reminiscent of those old dial-up and DSL lines before he calls us a nutcase and bounces. We hurry back to camp and tell Master Azuma about the news. He informs us that whatever devilry is at work, one thing remains true. That if Tatsumaru gets out of pocket and starts moving like a weirdo on these streets, that still looks bad on the Azuma ninja, and to make things right, there may come a point where Rikimaru has to put him to sleep. It's after this revelation that certainly won't come back to haunt us, where Goda comes into the scene and tells us there's a group calling themselves the Burning Dawn attacking a local temple. Divine intervention indeed. Rikimaru makes haste to the top of the temple where he once again encounters Suzaku, but this time he's seemingly accompanied by his boo thing Yuki Otaru, who wants to show out in front of her mans by putting us on ice. Unfortunately for her, the only thing that gets ice is her as we give her a taste of cold steel and put her to sleep permanently. In her final moments, she asks for help from her beloved, who then ruthlessly puts a blade through her neck, looking her directly in the eyes as he tells her he has no love for weakness. Pulling off his mask, Suzaku reveals the whole eye contact thing was just theatrics because Buddy's blinder than Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder during the fusion. He continues though, informing us that Seiryu, the artist formerly known as Tatsumaru, is well and gone, and it was of his own volition too. Not only that, but the Burning Dawn has a goal of eliminating the age of the samurai and ushering in the age of the ninja, and they do not have much care as to how many lives it would take to see that achieved. He then attempts to Jedi mind trick Ricky, informing him that he can smell the dog on him and knows that he's just like him. Ricky's like, what, blind? No, you imbecile. A junkie like me, you can only get high on the thrill of the fight. But even if Ricky doesn't join now, soon he'll have no choice. Before Ricky can even fully get out the drewski, what did you mean by that? Suzaku hopped away, and Ricky was delivered owl mail from Hogwarts that the quarantined village full of the ill that was under the care of the Azuma ninja was under attack. Like a hot comb through nappy hair, Rikimaru made his way through the bamboo to a sickening sight. Ill bodies, young and old, in various states of anguish and decay as a grade A baddie in a purple armor, bikini, and skirt combo, introducing herself as Kagami, leader of Toda's ninja, stands smiling amidst the carnage. Rikimaru looks on at her with contempt and disgust, asking her if she's truly satisfied with their sickening methods and if she won't be happy till the way of the ninja is destroyed completely. This awakens something in Kagami, who spits venomously at Rikimaru, telling her that her goal isn't the death of the ninja, but rather a world ruled by them. But in order to make that happen, any who oppose or are not strong enough to live in that world must first be taken care of. Opposition is unacceptable in any and all forms. Rikimaru, as he holds yet another dying townsperson in his arms, slowly releases her as the wrath of heaven comes to a boil within his heart. He checks in on Goda and his master, who appear to be safely warding off the enemy ninja as they order him to save as many people as he can. As Rikimaru makes good on this, his heart drops when he hears a scream come from his master's home. He fears the worst. With the agility of the wind, he arrives to his master's quarters to find a sight he cannot even imagine in his worst nightmares. Goda bloodied in the corner, his master deceased in a pool of his own blood while Tatsumaru stared at him wordlessly, almost egging him to attack. Unable to hold back any longer, Rikimaru gave in to his murderous impulses, lashing out against Tatsumaru and promising him that for his crimes of betrayal and the loss of his master, he would be merciful enough to take his life quickly. The duel ends with Rikimaru standing above a disarmed Tatsumaru, in position to deliver the final blow. Like Goda before him, when the opportunity came to strike the finishing blow on his loved one, he wasn't resolute enough to do it. Tatsu seized the chance, using Izayoi to slash Rikimaru's right eye, giving us the origin story of Homie's iconic scar, as well as providing Rikimaru with a lifelong lesson about what happens when you fail to finish the job. As Ricky reeled back, Kagami tells Rick that he lucked out when he made the choice not to kill Tatsu, but to only pursue them again when he's been possessed by the spirit of that dog well and true. Fits of rage and emotion won't work on enemies like them. Only when he's ready to do what needs to be done and it comes from a place of selflessness will he be ready to take down the leaders of the Burning Dawn. As they exit, Ricky hears his master and returns to his side for his final moment. Azuma asks Rikimaru to take back the Izayoi, the fate of their clan now resting firmly on his stout polygonal shoulders. He also echoes the sentiments of Kagami, asking Ricky not to put Tatsumaru down in the spirit of vengeance, but rather realizing that it's a necessity to protect their lord and maintain peace, nothing more, nothing less. He asks for Rikimaru's forgiveness, having taught him the ways of the blade fully, but not those of the spirit and heart, which is what he will need overall if he's to pursue his former brother with success. And with that final piece of apology, Roy Campbell takes his final breath. Goda decides that this time around, if things are about to get active, he won't be getting caught with his thumb up his 2D backside and heads to the castle to prepare for war. As Rikimaru looks around the village, he discovers that Semimaru, resident ninja pup, is still alive and well and has him track down Tatsumaru's scent so he can work on finally bringing things to an end. As Ricky and Semi follow the scent, they come upon Ayame hitting the sad Naruto in a swing pose while chilling on the ground. Ricky tells her what Tatsumaru did to their master and that he's on his ass as they speak to make things right. Before he'd even pee himself, Ayame had her knife to his throat, telling him that he will not be the one to take out Tatsu, she will, and it's non-negotiable. After peeping the look in her eyes, Riki was like, damn, say less. He tells her he realizes she has reached a selfless state both Kagami and Azuma have been speaking to him about, seeking not to kill Tatsumaru for selfish reasons, but because it was necessary and the two set out. What I like about this though is that when you run Ayame's story, you learn that her motives definitely weren't completely selfless. The reality was she was in love with your boy Tatsu, and the idea of Riki turning him into beef stew still rattled her stomach no matter what he'd done. By this point, Ayame has already had a run-in with Tatsumaru where she's learned that he's definitely not the same dude she fell in love with back in the village, and he promised if the two were to meet again, he was going to run her fade. Ayame's not the one to threaten with a good time though, so she sets off with Rikimaru to try to meet up with them again before it's entirely too late. The duo will continue their journey and are eventually stopped by Byako, a leader of the Burning Dawn, who informs him that he and his kitty are in the mood to play. This part had me so weak because Riki starts squaring up with his 3'8" train wreck of a man ready to ruin his whole life, while Ayame is over here on her Tiger King time and forced to fight a whole entire big cat. It's the most lopsided man-to-man coverage setup I've ever seen. Somebody definitely drew the short straw and it wasn't Riki. They get busy though, and after the fight's over, Rikimaru throws out one of his patented one-liners, stating how old Byako wasn't so tough after all. I wanted nothing more than the camera to do a slow pan over to the tiger using Ayame as a toothpick to really sell how off this matchup was, but homegirl did her thing and the Tatsumaru retrieval arc continues. Semimaru begins to howl outside of a nearby cave, signifying that Tatsumaru can be found inside. The ninjas sneak in, and as they make their way through the base, seeing here both Kagami and Tatsumaru having discussion next to the absolute behemoth of a warship. Turns out that just like MLK, Kagami had a dream to see ninja no longer relegated to the world of darkness. Kagami sought a world where the ninja were free to make their own choices, with autonomy over how they both lived and died. A sacrilege in the ninja world where the shinobi lived to serve only their masters and were a tool, a means to an end, nothing more, nothing less. Kagami continued, explaining that she wasn't seeking to kill Goda out of random bloodlust. For years, countless ninja had lost their lives in the feckless battle between Toda and Goda. With Toda now dead, all that remained was to remove Goda's head, and the key to shinobi civil rights would be liberated. I'm not gonna hold you homies after hearing the totality of her dream. Is it bad if I say she's kind of spitting? Now I see why Tatsumaru got down so horrendous. Not only was she thick, but she had a brain on her. Ninja or not, he's only human. Tatsu, you still good in my book. Hearing this revelation, Riki has Ayame remain on the boat while he sets out to give Lord Goda the news of the incoming attack, which then takes us to our third act. Rikimaru has made it back to Goda in his war room, preparing for what comes next, as the generals all sound like they got one sandal in the grave already. Just absolutely atrocious morale in that room. The bellyache session doesn't last long though, because there's a single alarm that sounds, and next thing you know, a cannonball has begun to pierce the castle walls. The invasion had begun. Goda says he's about to armor up and hit the front lines, but Riki begs to differ, telling him that he was made for this kind of violence and he won't come back until Kagami's head is in a shoebox. You can almost see the beads of sweat dry up on Goda's pixels as he thanks Rikimaru for the save and orders him to come back safe. He's a once-in-a-lifetime hitter and they need him on the roster. As Rikimaru works his way through the ship, he comes up upon Suzaku yet again, who absolutely insists upon Rikimaru being an absolute sicko just like him, whose sword starts to unsheathe at the smell of death, blood, and rotting corpses. Rikimaru uses his blade to shut him up, with Suzaku's final words insisting that he actually won because he made Rikimaru kill him in the spirit of vengeance and hate. That sore loser mentality sounds suspiciously like another raven-haired lunatic that we happen to be familiar with from the first game, huh? I'm sure that's nothing, right? Anyway, Riki keeps the train rolling, stating that Suzaku's death was not the result of hate, rather that he deems Goda a worthy master and his killing was a necessary one. Can't tell y'all how much I like how this game really took the time to show the birth of Rikimaru, the consummate professional that we see and grow to love in the later games. This title shows us that homie wasn't just born a robot. Through his training and lessons imparted by Kagami, Goda, Tatsumaru, and Ayame, he learned that though he may kill, to do his job properly it must not be born of hate. Homie has to always keep in mind that his work serves a greater purpose, and if he can do that, he can learn to keep the emotions out of it. As Riki continues ahead of him, he sees Ayame, but is shocked when he sees who she happens to be standing over. It appeared that Ayame was quite serious when she said vengeance against Tatsumaru was hers to grab, but it was clearly a victory not easily won, as Ayame threw Rikimaru the Izayoi and couldn't even make eye contact with him. As Riki held the sword in his hands, he couldn't help but feel the weight of it, physically and spiritually. It took so much for him to get there, so much fighting, so much death, so many loved ones lost. He had to ensure that the struggle was worth it. So with the Izayoi in hand, Rikimaru marched forward and prepared to face Kagami. Kagami, with a distinct air of sadness, commented on how he must have killed Tatsumaru or he couldn't have made it this far. Kagami threw away her disguise and asked Rikimaru if he truly intended to take away her dream. Rikimaru tells her that she killed her dream long ago with the ugliness of her methods, and prepared to end the conflict once and for all. After an epic boss fight and a dance of blades, Kagami is finally taken down. In her final moment, she calls Riki a fool on 2 counts, not only for thinking killing her is the end of her dream, but also for being a dog that only follows orders. A man like that can never extinguish what she created. Rikimaru sits with this, then replies, telling her that he would gladly play the fool if it meant being able to save even one person from her callous bloodshed. Farewell, Shinobi. All the endings are fantastic, but I really like Tatsumaru's as well. Just to get y'all up to speed, in Tatsu's story, he gets amnesia after the fall on the cliff, and Kagami tricks him into thinking he's Seiryu, the blue dragon, a member of the clan. As he makes contact with those from his old life, though, he remembers that this is false, but still opts to stick with her due to her convictions, and knowing going back to his old life was impossible after the weight of the things he already did. His ending sees him driving Ayame's sword through his heart and dying in a literal blaze of glory with Kagami as the two spend the end of their lives intertwined before the fire demon explodes. The final FMV shows Ayame leaving flowers on a grave, telling Rikimaru that her new goal is to become so strong that she never has to lose anyone she loves ever again. Rikimaru tells her that all he wishes to do is serve Lord Goda. Nothing more, nothing less. Then we see a pan out as the two shinobi walk together into the future. Also of note is there's another FMV where the homie Suzaku wakes up and it happens to be, you guess it, Onikage. And what's Buddy plotting to do? That's right, resurrect Lord Mayonnaise, which sets us up for Tenchū 3. What a freaking game, right? No crap, I'm so sick of remakes, but this is definitely a title that deserves a second look from developers. A Tenchū 2 with modern graphics, good cinematography, and a fleshed out story has the potential to be a record-breaking release. Hashtag bring back Tenchū 2, man. As always, big appreciation to you guys for going on this journey with me. Let me know if there are any other games you want to see me tackle in the comments, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.